Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Meetup. I'm your host, Commonwealth Victim Advocate Suzanne Estrella. You have entered a safe space for thoughtful reflection and honest conversation. There is no expectation of privacy. We are streaming live on Facebook, and this will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel at a later date. Before we get started, I want to share some exciting news about upcoming events. In addition to April being the month where we acknowledge crime victims' rights, April is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we want to acknowledge all the survivors, advocates, and service providers who work to bring an end to sexual violence and an end to sexual abuse. Please check out the websites for NSBRC and PCAR to find out lots of information about what's happening with the SAM campaign this month. And also you can check your local community child advocacy center to find out some events happening around Child Abuse Awareness Month. We were out in Montgomery County earlier today. There's some events here in Harrisburg at the Capitol tomorrow. So there's lots to get involved with and to really be engaged and to be a part of the solution in ending sexual assault and child abuse. Also want to let you know that the Office of Victim Advocate is hosting our first Lunch and Learn series. Coming up on April 19th, we'll be having a Lunch and Learn for survivors of sexual assault, all about the criminal prosecution process and what that's like, and some terms you might not be familiar with and what you might want to know if you are engaged in that process. So the sign up is in the chat if you want to be a part of that. We have another one coming in May, on May 11th, about support groups and what you can expect from a support group. So if you're interested, a sexual assault survivor, if you know or provide services to a sexual assault survivor, please feel free to refer them for those events. Tonight, we're going to be talking about National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is held April 23rd through the 29th. There are many events in local communities, and if you're having trouble finding one in your county, please put that in the chat and we'll make sure to get back in touch with you and let you know what's happening in your area. We are going to be talking about the Crime Victims' Rights Rally and Summit that occurs here in Harrisburg on April 24th. And it is an event that you do not want to miss. I'm so excited for all the folks that we have on the panel tonight. And I know this is going to be a very engaging and impactful conversation. I want to say a warm welcome to Director Rose, who is Director of the Office for Victims of Crime in the Department of Justice on the federal level. Thank you so much for being here. And then we also are joined by Melany Nelson, who chairs or co-chairs the Crime Victims' Rights Rally Committee with all the planning that happens here in Pennsylvania. And she also serves as the Director of Crisis Assistance and Response Engagement in the city of Philadelphia. So we're super happy to have you joining us as well tonight. And then we have some crime survivors who are here with us, and they're going to be talking about why this is important to them and why they choose to share their stories. And then also from the Office of Victim Advocate is Karen Hinkle, and she is one of our victim assistance coordinators who works with the committee in planning the summit and the rally here in Pennsylvania each year. So thank you for being a part of this discussion as well, Karen.
Thank you.
I am going to start with you, Dr. Rose. I know here in our office, we kind of wait on pins and needles to find out what is going to be the theme each year of the rally and how we're going to kind of weave that into the work that we're doing here in Pennsylvania. And I know that you've been working in this for many years. And I wondered if you could just tell us a little bit about the progression of crime victims' rights and what you've witnessed in planning these national campaigns.
Sure. First, I just want to thank you for inviting me to be part of this. It's so exciting. This is the first event that I've been involved in leading up to National Crime Victims' Rights Week. So it's really an honor to share this space with all of you here. So thank you. I've been in the field for a long time. And when I started in the field, the Victims of Crime Act had just passed the year before. And it really jump-started what many victim advocates had been asking for so long. And that was a federal office for victims of crime and a dedicated crime victims fund that could pay for crime victim compensation and assistance. And obviously we have those things here now. And since the passage of VOCA, millions and millions of crime victims have received compensation for medical care and emergency housing, counseling, transportation, funeral expenses, and other costs that they must bear associated with their victimization. And now there are thousands of victim services programs, including shelters and rape crisis centers, and they're all operating across the United States with VOCA funding. I think one of the things that has really been an incredible development since the crime victims, since the VOCA Act was passed, and that is the creation of what some people call victims' rights attorneys or special victim counsel, that were created really for the purpose of ensuring that victims' rights were both recognized and enforced. And now we have organizations in the US that are just dedicated to ensuring the rights of victims. So listening to victims' voices, I think we have been much better about that. And I think that survivors' voices have gotten stronger and stronger over the years. It's been very important to us at OVC to have survivors be able to participate in helping us make decisions about policy and practice and programs. But we know that the voices of survivors are still being left out of really important discussions where voices are needed. And there are too many survivors that still feel invisible. And I want to, commend you for having survivor leaders here today with us to be able to talk to us about their experiences and how they're contributing to the work that we're doing and making it better and empowering others to speak out. So that's why we recognize Crime Victims' Rights Week. It's, it reminds us of the people who have been harmed and that their voices matter, and that the people who care for the people who have been harmed are so very important as well. And, and we call it NCVRW, is really our way of being able to say thank you. Thank you for those voices.
Yeah, that's awesome. Melany, I'm going to ask you, when she said caring for the people who have been harmed, I think that sounds like a description of the work that you do. Tell us about your role in as the co-chair, about coordinating for Pennsylvania, and then also please share with us a little bit about your organization and the work that you're doing there in Philadelphia as well.
Sure. So co-chairing for National Victims' Rights Week rally is just unbelievable. The committee is unbelievable. Everyone is excited. Everyone is ready to work, and everyone understands listening to that voice of the victim and to make sure that they're heard so we can better serve them, because all of us serve victims in one capacity or another. So I am Melany Nelson, and I used to be the executive director for Northwest Victim Services in the city of Philadelphia for 7 years and 7 months, which I served all victims of crime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anybody knows that they can contact me on my cell phone, and I will pick up, and I will move a mountain to help anybody in need. So just recently, about a year ago, I joined the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office and being the director of the CARES unit. And my responders, as well as myself, I don't ask my staff to do anything I would not do. we actually go on to the crime scenes now. And we do that from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. all throughout the city of Philadelphia, immediately after a homicide has occurred. So we are unfortunately there when the homicide victim is there with the mother, the father, grandmother, grandfather, friends, and community members, and we are providing crisis support immediately at that time. And then we do that soft handoff to the community-based agencies so they can get those free services, victims compensation, from the community-based agencies.
That's awesome. That collaborative piece is so important. And I'm so glad that we're seeing more of that across the Commonwealth. People
Yes.
crossing those disciplines and making sure that all the needed parts are right there for the survivor. They don't have to go to this place and that place, but really making those teams is so important. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm gonna see if Deb, I see that Deb is one of our survivors. Now listen, I don't want you to say anything about what you're gonna say on April 24th.
Okay,
Because I want to save that so that people can just really be
you're excited about that, aren't you?
Yes.
I'm sharing my story, that a letter that I wrote to my father.
Wait, don't
Um,
tell anymore.
and
Don't tell them about that. Don't
it's
tell
really
them.
juicy. It has a lot to it. And you say about having a voice. I've never had a voice, never. This is the first for me. And
Tell
every
us,
time,
what do you think is the most challenging part about sharing your story?
my
As you prepare
self-esteem,
for this.
my self-esteem, how I can build up confidence to be able to share with everyone, because it's a really big move for me, because I haven't even had the strength to share with my church ladies, so this is really a big move. And I'm just praying to God that he'll help me through this, because I think I need to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. You're going to do a great job. I know it. Pearl, tell us, what do you think is the most challenging part about sharing your story?
I'm gonna say the prep beforehand, getting ready to
Mhm.
tell it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, probably afterwards when it all starts sinking in. But as far as talking about it and sharing my story, I just hope it changes someone's outlook on life.
And then is this a picture of your son that you're sharing with us tonight?
Yes, it is.
Mhm. Thank you so much for doing that. So we tell us, Director Rose, how do you go about selecting what the theme is going to be each year?
Well, it's quite a process. We start out about a year beforehand. So right after NCVRW this year, we're going to start thinking about next year. And it's really a process where all of the staff kind of come together and we start thinking about, what have been the big issues this year? Where do we want to place our emphasis? And last year we decided we really wanted to focus on equity for victims and access to services. And I think that was absolutely the right thing to do. And then this year, it's really about survivor voices. I mean, it's about engaging and elevating and affecting change, and how voices of survivors can do that. And I just want to say to my fellow panelists here, to Deb and to Pearl, that just by speaking out, and I know you'll do a wonderful job because you're going to be speaking from the heart, and you are going to impact people with your words. And that is, that is a wonderful thing. And I'm just so glad that, Suzanne and her team have been able to create that safe space for you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the candlelight vigil? What will happen?
Oh, I'd love to. I'm so excited. I'm about as excited about that as you are about your rally. We are holding it on the National Mall for the second year in a row. So it's in this big tent, and you can see the Capitol from, you know, where you're sitting. It's really beautiful. And it'll be on April 26th at 7 p.m. And we will be featuring the American Pops Orchestra is going to be playing. We're going to feature words from survivors, and we are also have special videos made of survivors with this, again, around this theme of speaking out and lifting survivor voices. And then we also have a special guest. Her name is Kelly Jackson, and she is a Native American musician who I heard sing at the Indian Nations Conference in December. And she is going to sing a song that she wrote about, well, I better not say too much, so I don't spoil everything, but she's a pop singer. She's very, very good. And I just think it's going to be a wonderful evening. So it'll conclude at 8 o'clock, and anybody can come. You can.
Is it also going to be recorded? Like, can you watch virtually, or is it live only?
Vigil is, yes, it is actually, it is going to be live streamed.
Awesome.
So you can watch the vigil. We are also hoping to get more media attention this year, and maybe have, you know, a few other media outlets there. So it just gets even broader, you know, distribution.
Nice. Melany, I think pretty recently you got an award from some of the community work that you've been doing. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then how you use survivor voices in the work that you do?
Sure. Yes, I received a Game Changer award from KYW, which was truly, truly an honor. And they were honoring people who wouldn't necessarily get honored. You know what I mean? You know about those people with the big names, but these were individuals who are just doing great things within their communities and touching the lives of so many. For me, it's a passion. It's not a job. And it just doesn't stop. Like, after I speak to survivors or even victims, because victims still contact me, doesn't stop a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I'll share this with you, and this young lady said that I can share it with you. It's very brief. There is a mother, Leah Lalo. Her son came here from the Philippines to visit someone. He was riding in his Honda, and he was shot and killed. She had to up and rush here just with the clothes on her back. So I was able to help her, to serve her, and she allowed me to serve her during the most vulnerable time in her life. She went back, and I still stay in contact with her. My victims and my co-homicide survivors, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, I'm huddled up in a corner somewhere just texting, saying that you're in my thoughts and in my prayers. And my husband, he'll just look at me. He doesn't think it's anybody else, but he knows what I'm doing. But she sent me an email Friday evening at 10 p.m. She said to me, the trauma of losing my son has done some devastating things to my health. She now needs open heart surgery. And she asked for my help in raising, she needs 1.5 to 2 million pesos to be able to have open heart surgery. So for the survivors and the victims to still be able to know that they can contact me because I genuinely care, that's priceless. And that's why I continue to do what I do.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that she's allowed you to share that with us. I think sometimes we just need to be reminded of how much the impact of a crime like that, the rippling effects You know, it's not that one day and that one incident. It is so much more that the survivors are processing and going through on their healing journey. So appreciate her sharing that. Karen from OVA, she is a rock star when it comes to advocating for crime victims. Survivors have the opportunity to file a complaint with our office when their rights are not upheld. And then we advocate on their behalf. And Karen has just been so instrumental in helping us address that for crime survivors in the counties where she serves. Tell us a little bit, Karen, what you find most difficult about that complaint process and trying to help survivors get their rights.
Well, I think part of it, it comes down to one, that they do have these rights and that they need to be enforced. So a lot of times, just potentially sometimes getting a hold of the partners and the collaboration is sometimes at times difficult. Either they don't get back to us, or depending on how the nature of the crime, they may sometimes providers may not think that that little bit of paperwork and victim advocacy, as far as the booklet is a booklet regarding their victims' rights, they may not need that potentially, upon the fact that when they do come into contact with the police department. So a lot of times what we're seeing is the more serious crimes, folks are receiving this information, but they may, somebody who may have had something stolen from them is equally impacted as a more serious crime. So I think, working on that collaboration, saying, hey, this is still important. It may not seem it, but it really, really is important.
Yeah, we do try to make sure that survivors know that we're here for them and want to enforce that. It's just been recent. I don't know if you are aware, Dr. Rose, where that's become where survivors in Pennsylvania now have standing. So like we've had a crime bill of rights for quite some time, but now they have standing where they can actually file motions and say, I wasn't given the opportunity to make a statement before you enter this plea. And then the judge is actually supposed to work with them to correct that. So
that's huge.
Yeah, it's very new here, but like I said, collaboration is a big part of it, because when we try to stress with the DA's offices that, hey, we're on the same team. We all want safe communities. And if there's a mistake made, or, will you work with us to make sure that these rights are upheld? So yeah, we've had some good ones, we've had some success, but it's a struggle because it's different. People are not used to that being in the statute and, like, hey, you have to do this. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, that's going to change things completely. And it just too often, survivors, they never even realize, no one ever tells them, they never find out they have rights. They never find out that compensation is available to them. Is that right? That happened to you, Deb? And that's something that I think that those of us who have been given the privilege of being able to be in a position where we can, reach a lot of people, to make sure that everyone, no matter who they are or where they are, that they know that they can get help. They're not alone. They don't have to, face this by themselves.
Yeah.
Breaks my heart.
Yeah. I hear you. Pearl, I'll start with you on this one. Tell us what you wish every service provider would understand. If you had the opportunity to educate us all, what would you want us to know?
That no traumas are alike. Everybody reacts differently to whether it's a loss of a child or the loss of your mother, sibling. Everyone's different. So to have that recognized more, and more education and a little more understanding of what a person could be going through.
Thank you so much. That's good. Deb, how about you? What would you want all service providers to know?
I just think that the public itself should be educated more about the rampant abuse that's going on in, Pennsylvania and stuff. And just to be able to get people heard that their pictures on the milk cartons like they used to do a long time ago.
Mhm. Good point. So as we seek to elevate your voices, this Crime Victims Week and the rally and the summit, what do you hope will be the resulting change? Well, I'll let you go first, Deb, on that one.
I don't know. I just have to try and get through it. That's all. I'm not anticipating anything.
Okay.
I'm just praying that the Lord will get me through it.
I know he will. Carl, how about you? What do you hope will be a change that results from having shared your story?
That it makes people, one, realize that they're not alone in their trauma. Two, hopefully to get our stories across to our legislators, senators, to get the proper bills and policies changed.
Nice. Great. It's good to hear. Melany, tell us, what's your vision for crime victims' rights? What would you like to see happen in Pennsylvania to a greater extent, maybe?
And I'm going to piggyback off of that. So much, as you said, there's so many great things that are taking place in the victim services world and all of the changes that have come down. But there's so much more work that needs to be done. And that is my hope for National Victims' Rights Week. And we're going to kick it off in Harrisburg on the 24th at 11 o'clock at the Capitol. So everybody, please come and join us. But that is what my hope is, that after we hear the voices of the mother who has lost her child just because he was of the LGBTQIA plus community, and there's no reason to take anybody's life. What their lifestyle is their lifestyle. But we're hoping and we're praying for change, that needed change in legislation to where we get those bills passed, where hopefully gun violence will cease and all crime will cease, and that we are able to live in a safer world.
Yeah, for sure. No, we gotta stay hopeful. I know sometimes you hear the news, you can see so much wrong, so much ugly, so much devastation.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things I like about when they do the Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Their focus is always on prevention is possible. Prevention is possible. This does not have to be something that we live with because we're having a hard time now. But if we can find ways for a vision, for a different reality, then we can move towards that. And I know collaboration is just a huge part of that happening. Karen, tell us a little bit about what you enjoy most about participating on the planning committee for the Victims' Rights Rally and the OVA Summit that happens right after.
So I've been on the committee now for almost 11 years. I'm definitely a planner. I love the fact that each year we take different, we look at different crime types, we look at different survivors, and just, really give them an opportunity to kind of change things up every year. Just, we look for folks in different communities just to make sure we're really hitting every single point and every type of crime. And I really enjoy it. I'm definitely, like I said, I'm definitely a planner, and we start planning in early October. We wait patiently for the theme to come out. We wait patiently for the week to come out. And then we just, kind of plunge forward and keep going. But we're definitely looking forward to the rally in a couple of weeks. and definitely looking forward to the summit because that's something new that we're just starting here at OVA.
So tell us, if you could, like fast forward 5 years from now, what's your vision for crime victims' rights? What would your hope be to see?
I would love for victims to have equal rights as the offenders do. I know we're moving forward or plunging forward with that, and changes have been made, especially with Act 77. But I truly hope at one point they have equal standing.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Director Rose, what's your vision for the future of crime victims' rights?
Well, my vision would be that this isn't a thing where we have to, shout it from the rooftops. It's something that everyone already knows about, and that every person who experiences a crime and decides to participate in the criminal justice system, that their rights, everyone understands their rights and they're respected and they're upheld. That would be just the best.
Yeah, I echo that for sure. Yeah, I'm hoping that one day that these discussions will not be necessary, that we will kind of be so into neighboring and caring about other people that it'll just become so rare that there is a crime, that people will actually be looking out for the other person and feeling that that person has just as much value as they do, and that it'll just cause us to see each other differently and treat each other differently, and that we can really kind of eliminate a lot of the violence and things that we see in community, that community will begin to mean something different to us than what it does today. I tell people all the time, it was during COVID, but not like at the peak of 2020. So maybe a little further down, there was a Black Lives Matter rally that my college age children were participating in. So I was like, oh, I'm going with you guys. And we went, and while I was extremely proud to know that they cared and that they wanted to be a part, and I was happy to be there with them, the fact that it was happening, like still as a mom, it was like so sad. Like my kids should not still be having to talk about the same thing. So my hope is that, man, for my grandchildren, that they will not have a need to be in a Black Lives Matter march. So yeah, and that's just like one area, but I'm really hopeful that we'll see more of that in every area. So we talk about equity and listening and promoting survivor voices, that we'll really get to a place where we hear one another. And that's like a skill that, people don't study, like, being a good listener. And like just hearing and listening are two different things, but listening to really understand, I think will just continue to promote us and get us closer to where we want to be. So now I want to talk a little bit about trauma. And I'm going to ask, I think, the service providers first, and then we'll hear from our survivors. But tell us about, because I'm thinking that we probably can provide some information and tips to each other. So tell us about Melany, like sitting in a place where you hear the trauma of others and you're using empathy, subjected to vicarious trauma. Tell us how you go about handling that, or maybe building resiliency for yourself or for your family. What does that look like in your life?
It is hard. I will say that. It's very hard in dealing with death and crime every single day. So what I do is I do lean on my family for support, and I cry because it still hurts me to this day. And I said to myself, the moment I become desensitized, it's time for me to lead. So I cry when I need to cry, and that's real. I just lean on, again, my family. And another thing that I do check-ins with other directors, executive directors, with my team. And we have those self-care moments where I may say, listen, let's not go into the office today. Just like on Friday, we're going to Iron Hill Brewery. We're going to go to Iron Hill Brewery. We're going to have some buffalo wings and some tater tots or whatever. And then from there, you go home. So you really have to take care of yourself. But I think the most important thing that I do, again, is checking in with my staff daily, but then checking in on, you'll be upon my list. You know what I mean? And the doctor, you'll be upon my list, because what we do is so heavy. And just because we're in the leadership position does not mean that we don't need that hug. That does not mean that we don't need that check-in. So just to be able to de-escalate, if that's the word I'm looking for, but just to be able to let go at the end of the week and be able to speak to someone who can relate to what we're going through. And then we keep each other encouraged and moving on.
That's awesome. Karen, how about you? How do you manage the trauma of the work?
So it's a lot, and I sometimes have trouble participating in self-care and taking time off. I always I got to keep going forward, But oftentimes, lately at lunchtime, during the day, I will take a walk, or I will step completely away from my computer for that 45 minute, half an hour to 45 minutes. I spend time with my family, spend time with my friends. At the end of the workday, I will close everything up and put everything away, and just kind of keep it as an out of sight, out of mind, but it's still always there. Very often I could be out in the community and I can see folks that I may have worked with over the years, or see them at, whether it be at different events or, at public places. But, I always think about them. There's cases that I still think about that I had handled 10 or 12 years ago. When I first came into victim services 18 years ago, when I first came into victim services and worked with that first individual. But yeah, I definitely tried, self-care is so important. Sometimes just taking that step, walking away and checking in with someone, it has been very beneficial and helpful.
That's good. Director Rose, how about you?
Well, it's interesting because some people don't think that because you work in an office and you're, managing a big grant program, that you're not as exposed to the trauma that's happening. But we do a lot of site visits. We meet with survivors all the time. And we've started a program called OVC Cares, where we've contracted with a local center for healing and loss. And my staff can go free of charge and have a check-in with a grief counselor, a trauma specialist, after they come back from a tough site visit, or if they've just even been reading, something that has, or triggered. We have a lot of people who work at OVC that are survivors themselves. And you just never know what is going to be a particular trigger to someone, because as Pearl so eloquently said, every survivor is different and every experience is different. So, but we have found that program, people have really taken advantage of it. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have a social worker on staff, so staff members can debrief with her. But the office community here is really nice, so people are really welcoming and ready to debrief with one another. We have like a table out in the hallway that has a giant puzzle on it, and people kind of work to try to do that. Some during lunch, you'll see staff members, they're playing, what's that game? Bananagrams, and a card game that they play just to kind of de-stress, because we have like a call center where people are answering the telephone to provide advocacy for survivors Monday through Friday. So they just need a lot of like breaks and minutes to just breathe and let that go. Our social worker she provides instructions at our staff meeting and just gives us different ideas about ways for self-care. She'll take us through some deep breathing exercises, mindfulness exercises, which I find them to be super helpful. And I think culturally, that type of self-care was not something that I grew up with or was taught was important or anything like that. But when I started listening to the mindfulness thing and doing, I was like, oh, this stuff really works. So, and then I try to exercise quite a bit. Sometimes it's forcing myself to get to the gym, but it's almost sometimes like I can feel stress leaving my body as I'm working out at the gym. And I think it's just important because I don't know if anybody have read that book, The Body Keeps the Score, that you do have. Sometimes you can go and think that nothing's happening, and if there's no release, it can be sitting right in your body. So, and then I think once every 2 weeks we do we've got a little kind of like room that we can use as a gym. So we'll do lunchtime yoga, which is super helpful as well. Deb and Pearl, have you kind of thought about things that you do, or hopefully you can get some suggestions from this? Because I know it's going to be tough when you get here and then you see all those people. So, but we're going to have staff members here ready for you. But what do you do on a daily basis, like trying to get ready for this and dealing with the trauma of telling that story again?
I read self-help books all day long. It's just like, I can't put them down. I've been reading them for 30 years.
Awesome.
And, I just dive right into it. And I've been watching TED Talk shows and stuff on YouTube. And I'm really enthused about putting stuff together to help survivors,
Awesome.
And the more I can talk about it, the better I think I'll feel.
That's great.
Yeah.
Pearl, how about you?
Well, one, raising a 5-year-old keeps me a little more grounded.
Yeah.
And I love working in my yard, whether it be mowing the lawn or pulling the weeds. So that gives me some downtime. Pretty much any second available I get to myself, I just try to, whether I'm just sitting there playing a game or watching a TV show or something, I just take a few minutes here and there to relax.
Awesome. That's great. It's so important. Well, I just want to say again, thank you all for being on the show tonight. We are super excited to have this opportunity to elevate the voices of survivors and kind of bring attention to crime victims' rights in what we know is going to be a really special and impactful way. So we are looking forward to everyone meeting us at the Capitol for the rally outside, and then coming inside to the summit to be a part of that event. And hopefully tuning in, if you can't make it to DC, tuning in to that candlelight vigil for that streaming event. I think like the more that we participate and provide this information, even to like friends, maybe who who are not victim service providers, kind of just sharing that information just helps to get the word out across communities, so people can just become more aware and be ready to help us in this fight to create safer, caring communities where justice thrives. So again, thank you to all of my guests. I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate you survivors for lending your voice and being a part of the program this month with us, and just everything that you're doing on a daily basis for your healing journeys. We value it. And thank you for the advice that you've given us tonight, as well as service providers. And just, we look forward to seeing everybody at the end of the month. And thank you again.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Rose,
Thank you for
part of
having
this.
me.
Look, I know you're gonna have a wonderful
Thank
rally,
you.
Thank you.
everyone. Thanks for including me.
All righty. we will see everybody next month.
All right.